guys. Welcome to the podcast.
We're back.
So since you didn't want to start it, I'm just going to dive right in and ask you, what's the topic today?
Wow, that's messed up, dude. We're going to talk about how we're splitting real estate and property management within the office and what that's going to look like and the reasoning behind it and the meaning of life.
All right.
Is that accurate?
Okay. Let's start with the meaning of life.
Okay. We only have 5 minutes.
No, so elaborate a little bit. Elaborate a little bit about what you mean about splitting the property management and the real estate.
Well, when Key Property first started, we thought that it was going to be a good idea to have both things work.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Together, right? And that go hand in hand because it does make sense.
Right.
And, a couple of years later, we're realizing that may not be the best way of doing things. So let's talk about those changes and the reasoning behind them.
Yeah. So, it really is a loaded question, but I will try to make it, I'll try to condense it. So my idea when starting the company was to have both complement each other. Right. So we have property management, we have brokerage in the traditional sense. And instead of having two separate companies, I wanted them under one roof so that they would complement each other.
You can save money on a lease, right?
Right. So they could complement each other. And what has ended up happening is that they have since been operating completely independently. So the property management side doesn't really know what the brokerage side is doing, and brokerage doesn't know what the property management side is doing. And so it's not very streamlined. And so part one of the anticipated restructuring of that is rebranding. And that's probably going to be very, very down the road. But I do think that there are some challenges that come with having both companies under one name, because now we are not necessarily hyper-focused on the clients that we want to attract in property management, much like we're not very hyper-focused in the clients that we want to attract under the brokerage side. If we want to go after a specific demographic or a specific pool of buyers or sellers in the brokerage side, we have the property management service kind of
holding you back,
bumping heads with that brokerage brand. And so people who want an exclusive brokerage might say, oh, well, this one also does property management. Let me go somewhere else. And I think the same is happening in property management for those clients that are looking to for a company that specializes in property management. They might be thinking the same thing. So I do think that being able to market both independently and hyper-focus each brand and service will ultimately prove to be very beneficial. And so I think that down the road, that's going to be something that we do. Does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. So that was the main idea and the reason why we're changing it, right?
Yes.
That was the answer to that part.
The smaller part, the smaller part, which is what I'm actively working on now, is more from an operational standpoint, and that is I've taken a look at what makes up our portfolio, or the owners and properties that make up our portfolio, and if we were to choose ideally how we want the makeup of our portfolio to look like, that's not what we have now. We have a large variety of clients and properties, from small to large, from owners that own multiple properties and many units to
owners that own one.
Owners that just own their single family house that they moved away from last year and it's just empty sitting there, right? So we don't really have a good niche right now in terms of who our property owners and what they look like. So I have noticed that has also added to the amount of work that we do on the property management side. We have a lot of different owners. We have a lot of different properties.
Right, it's not as streamlined anymore.
It's not as streamlined. And if I were to imagine having the same number of units or even more units under management, but fewer owners, it's actually much more manageable if we had fewer owners that just had more units and more properties, as opposed to, like, let's say, for example, when I first started out, if somebody came to me and said, hey, would you like 100 units? I would say, yes, absolutely. We're increasing our unit count, right? Whereas now, if somebody said, hey, do you want 100 units? I would stop and say, well, that depends. Is it one owner or is it 100 owners? Because if it's 100 owners, I don't want that. I don't want to get anywhere close to that.
Right. So you're just lazy now. That's what you're saying. I just want to make sure everything's clear.
Well,
no, I'm just
sure,
joking.
You could put it that way.
Listen, I understand the onboarding process. I understand like the people don't get how it works. So that's why it may seem that way. That's the only reason I wanted to make that joke. But there's.
Well, if you think about it, 100, like under that example, 100 owners means 100 different
accounts, right?
policies, 100 different procedures, 100 different rules and regulations, 100
It's just
different
not
things, and
scalable.
accountability for our owners and whatnot. Whereas if we had one owner and 100 units, we're just responding to that one owner,
Right.
and everything falls under that one owner, and we have that one, two-way accessibility, and it's just much easier for us to manage behind the scenes, because the bulk of our overhead and the bulk of our behind the scenes work actually is involved in the work that we do for our owners, our budgeting, our profit and loss, our accounting and bookkeeping, our planning for capital expenditures and improvements on the buildings. The tenant side is kind of just
It doesn't really matter, right?
One fits all, right?
Right.
But the owners, it's very specific to each. And so the fewer owners that we have, the more easily that we work behind the scenes. So that, from an immediate perspective, is what we are working on now. And then hopefully if we're able to kind of fine tune that down the road, is where the rebranding will come in.
So the goal here is to rebrand in order to separate the two companies so that they don't go hand in hand, or they don't supplement each other in any kind of way, right? That was the first goal, right?
Well, no, I still want them to supplement each other. It's just that the approach is going to be different.
All right, so this is going to be presented as two different companies rather than rather than both of them under Key Property Group roof.
They might not even be presented as two companies.
See, we don't even know yet.
So
you guys are in on the ground floor.
They might not even be presented as two companies, because whereas before I was thinking that there was an advantage in having both services under one name and being
Right.
able to say, hey, we can do both of these things.
Right.
I now think that conversation of, hey, we could do both of these things should be had at the client level, not at the brand level. In other words, let's bring in the client for property management strictly under a property management branding and a property management proposal. And then if they want to sell their property, we could say, hey, we have a sister company or our other company does brokerage, and vice versa, as opposed to branding ourselves as doing both of those things, because I do think that that's working against us. And it may even be holding us back when it comes to scaling each side. And so that's the reason why I would say the rebranding is necessary, not so much because we don't want them to supplement each other or we don't want them to complement each other, but because I think that the approach to having them supplement each other it has to be different.
Wow, you just said each other a lot. Anyways, so that makes perfect sense then. So
does it? Repeat it back to me.
No, we don't have time. So the goal here is to decrease, like in just for the sake of
Time.
of what?
Of time.
No, just for the sake of productivity, I guess, and quality of service, right? The goal here will be to decrease the amount of people that only have like one or two doors, and rather focus on larger portfolios where you can actually leverage your time a lot better, because there's less busy work, I guess, to do, right? Because you have less owners, and that would allow you to be able to serve them better. Correct? Is that the goal? The end goal, rather?
Yes. Yeah. And there's small details in that as well, because we unfortunately have also not been working very smart when it comes to how to leverage our client base. So now we have a handful of owners that are looking to expand their portfolio. And there might be a couple of owners that are looking to get out of investment or looking to unload some of their properties.
And you might be able to match them
up. Whereas before, we didn't really put too much time into taking a look at our portfolio and seeing who can we match up here, who might be interested in selling at the right price, and what owner is interested in purchasing that. Now we keep the units within our portfolio, but now we've just minimized our owner count. And so I think that taking a really specific and detailed look as to how we can match those owners up and streamline our unit count, instead of just saying, hey, owners 1 through 10, we're going to get rid of you because we're no longer managing your type of properties. Who in our portfolio can buy those properties?
Right. Okay.
And I think that
allows you to also keep the properties.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a double.
So there's a huge
win-win.
simplification that comes with that.
Okay. So all right. So we spoke about the initial goal, the reason why we're changing it. Do you want to touch up on anything else, or do you want us to leave like just the next step, I guess, for the next one?
Well, what else would we touch up on? What is property management? You mentioned that. I don't think that we should go into that.
Okay.
Maybe on another one, but yeah, no, we on another one we can go into that.
Okay.
But this was mostly talking about the changes and some of the challenges that we have on the property management side and how we anticipate fixing them.
That's good.
Good enough?
I love it.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for the questions in the interview. That was great.
You wrote them for me. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.